For quite some time, Iceland has been recognized globally for its progressiveness and inclusivity for LGBT people. Since 2010, marriage has been defined as between two individuals instead of between a man and a woman, and since 2006, gender and sexually diverse people have had the same access to IVF and adoption as heterosexuals. Iceland was the first country in the world to have an openly gay prime minister, and is consistently rated as a top place to visit for rainbow travelers. Homophobic violence and discrimination is considerably lower in Iceland, and the country was even rated as number one in a gay happiness index in May 2015 from gay men's dating website Gay Romeo. It would appear that Iceland's ability to consistently kick goals in regards to equality would provide the perfect environment for gay men to thrive. But what is it actually like? What is it like for a gay man living permanently on a rock in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? Is it everything it's cracked up to be? I'm Jonathan Duffy, and this is Cruising. It's difficult to say exactly how many gay men there are permanently residing in Iceland. It's estimated that less than 2% of a developed country's population are men who identify as gay. So taking that into consideration, with a population of approximately 330,000, Iceland would have less than 6,000 men who identify as exclusively gay. As a gay man, I can say that logging onto any dating app here, you will see anywhere from 50 to 100 local men at any given time. This raises a question for me as a foreigner who has resided in this country for a while. What is the authentic experience of a gay man dating in Iceland? I spoke to some locals to find out. Helgi is in his early 20s and is a member of a generation that in this country has enjoyed a great deal of freedom in comparison to its predecessors. For him, the line between dating and sexual encounters is more blurred. He was born and raised here and is currently single. So what are his opinions on dating customs in the land of fire and ice? Do you date Icelanders?
Define date.
So, what is your definition of a date?
Well, I would think. Well, in this case, I would just think sex, basically, or like something, sex or something more. Yes.
So, to you, a date qualifies sleeping with someone, or having a dinner, or hanging out, or does a date usually end in sex?
For me, yes. A couple of times. But yeah, it can be just a dinner or a meetup or sex.
Would you say you equally date Icelanders and foreigners?
I would say I did more foreigners than Icelanders in general. Icelanders can be kind of flaky and quite difficult to really like meet up and have just a hookup with, or just a general hangout with, because they always seem to be really hung up on doing something more, or really wanting it to become something more, while foreigners are usually just here for a limited amount of time and want to get out of the country and have some dick. Right now in my life, I would say I'm more looking at just hookups and very minor things.
Would you see yourself wanting something more long-term in the future?
Yes, sometime in the future. I would have to say I imagine it with an Icelander. And I think it's something, a cultural or heritage type of thing that's really stuck in my brain. But however, like, I would always try to be open. But the first thing I think of is an Icelander.
What do you think is the best dating app here in Iceland?
For just general hookup and sex, I would say probably Grinder. I only use Grinder and Tinder. And for Tinder, it's more of a chatty meetup thing for me. So what's the best one? Well, depends on what you're looking for. Uh, but yeah, if you're looking for sex, I would say Grindr. If you're looking for chat, I would say Tinder.
Where can guys in Iceland, whether they're foreign or local, meet other guys if they don't want to go on dating apps?
That is a very good question, because we don't really have like any space for that. Like, and we don't really. We used to have these kind of bi-weekly coffee meetings where we were just trying to like get people to come out and talk, but that has stopped. We should probably try to get that going again. But I would say like, yeah, if you're looking for hookups and stuff, you could always go to Kiki. It's only open during weekends, and that's more just a dancing, drunk, messy hookup. Or like Bravo below Kiki is usually filled with queer people, and if not, there's not really any place. So I think you kind of have to use apps to meet nowadays, which is kind of sad, because I think I don't know. Because I think it kind of keeps us kind of closeted in a way, and having to like go out, not in secret, but you have to be ish discreet about it, and then like meet up, and using apps to do that is always kind of hindering. And it should be more open, and should be, yeah. I feel kind of weird not being like not feeling right to just hit on like a guy I like wherever. I think that's kind of weird.
So in 2017 in Iceland, you still have like an apprehension about hitting on a guy, what, in case he's straight or in case he doesn't like you? Is it a fear of rejection?
Yeah, it's just a fear of rejection, looking like a fool, or just in general. I don't. It's just kind of stuck in me personally, at least, like feeling kind of inappropriate, where I'm not in a queer space to hit on someone of the same sex. But I know that it should not be the case.
Describe a typical date in Iceland.
Meeting up somewhere, checking each other out, getting off your drinks, and getting to a bed somewhere, or not if you're into that.
As an Icelander, if you ended up in a long-term relationship with a foreigner, would you expect them to learn the language?
Yes, I think, or like you wouldn't have to be like totally fluent at it, but I would really appreciate it if that person would try, and I would kind of like just to be able to better integrate with like my family and my friends, even though most of us can speak English quite well. I would yeah, I would kind of expect it to for that person to really learn Icelandic, or at somewhat to be able to kind of embrace the culture as well.
Do you feel that there could be pressure from parents for Icelandic gay men to find an Icelandic partner?
Yes, I would definitely say there is that. Like trying to. I feel like there is kind of this atmosphere generally in Iceland to find an Icelandic mate, and I think that's kind of weird because we're so tiny and inbred already. Why do we have to keep that tradition going?
Even though you would rather have an Icelandic boyfriend.
Yes, it is. The propaganda works. It sticks in me.
Do you have any advice for a new person to Iceland when it comes to dating here? Any good advice?
Mm, not all of us are. Not all of the Icelanders are timid and flaky dicks. But like, have to swipe through a lot of dicks to find the right ones. But yeah, I would also say like when you're coming here, don't only look for like Icelanders to hang out with, because there's so many foreigners and a lot of them come here with the same mindset, and like just wanna like hang out, have fun, like explore everything there is here, and yeah, have a good time.
As of 2016, close to 32,000 immigrants live in Iceland, making up nearly 10% of the total population. In the capital of Reykjavik, it's estimated 1/4 of the residents are foreign, and at times the amount of tourists can actually outnumber the local population. This number is increasing every year, and with that comes a growing number of gay expats. Is life for gay foreigners in Iceland different? Hernando, a Spanish native, lived in Iceland for 6 years. During this time, he experienced life both single and in a relationship. What was his experience like? How did you experience the gay scene in Iceland for the first time?
Well, the first time I experienced it, I was in a relationship, so it was a little different. But I don't know how to explain it. It was not a great feeling. Even the first night, and I remember this. I was with, in you know, my boyfriend at the time, and you could see that some people were looking. Some people even made comments like I didn't even know anyone, and I could see some people saying things about the person I was with, or about myself, or about, it just seemed like um, not friendly at all. I must say, I haven't always felt that way, and sometimes but that first encounter with what was Barbara at the time, um,
Was
not cute.
it what you expected it to be?
No, I didn't think it was going to be that way, especially because, Icelanders pride themselves in being so open and blah, blah. There's all of this PR around it, and then you find that reality slightly
In what
disappointing.
way was dating in Iceland different from where you originally come from?
So yeah, you mean, I guess, when I was single again, so it was different in the sense that in Iceland dating seems impossible. There's so many hurdles for dating to even be possible. First of all, the pool of people is very, very, very limited. If you're there for, let's say, a year, you can safely say that you will know all the gay men that you're ever going to know in your life there, because you've maxed out in your social circles and the people that you're going to know. And there might be other gays out there, but you're never going to meet them. So that's the numbers. That's the first thing. Second, the culture doesn't really encourage dating, I don't think. It's very much people go out, people get drunk, people have sex and repeat. And at some point, I think when two people do this enough times, then I think they sort of are in a relationship. But there's not like formal dating. I don't think that people, that often go have a coffee or do dinner, or also they're not very open. So I cannot really compare, because because dating in Iceland to me is like it doesn't really
And
exist.
you're native to Spain, so what is it like dating in Spain?
It's Of course, it's weird if I say it's normal, because that's my normal. But I live now in a third country that's not Iceland or Spain, and what I can feel is that it's a lot like it was in Spain. You meet people, you can start conversations with a lot of different people. Also, there's the thing that they don't know you and they don't know anything about you, which is helpful. In Iceland, everyone already has an idea of you because of something they've heard, or because they've seen you and they've made up their own little image of who you are. And so in Spain, in the Netherlands, I feel that you get to meet more people. Maybe people are also more open. They don't take assumptions as quickly. You can just go have a coffee. Sometimes you might become friends. Sometimes it might be something else. But it's just easier. It flows. And with Icelanders, I feel that everything is a lot of work.
So I guess this might be repeating a question, but what was your experience more specifically when it came to dating Icelandic gay men? Like what were they like in particular?
I guess that's a difficult one, because my boyfriend that I was with when I moved to Iceland, he was only half Icelandic, so a lot of elements in his culture were not purely Icelandic. But the the ones that were, and also from what I've seen in other people there, Icelandic men are, or yeah, Icelandic men are very difficult to date, because I don't think communication is. I don't think they're good with communication. They're not used to that. They don't. They're not going to tell you how they feel. And like the Netherlands and Spain are very direct countries where people always tell you how they feel, even if you are not asking for it, and which sometimes can be, a lot. But at the same time, you know where you stand. And with Icelanders, it's very. You never know what's going on. You might think that everything is okay, and all of a sudden, uh, someone is terribly unhappy and they don't want to meet you again. That has happened to me actually with someone that they just don't tell you if something is wrong. If something that you said bothered them, they're just gonna take it in and they're gonna keep it, and then maybe they will not talk to you again, and they're never gonna explain why, and then you find out another way. It's just a lack of communication, I think, is the main problem.
Apart from what you've already stated, what are some of the problems unique to gay dating in Iceland?
I think that pretty much sums it up, because when you have lack of communication and a very small pool of people, you can imagine that things are not going to flow. And then there's the influx of tourists, and it's all very much I don't know what the word for this would be, but it's so dysfunctional. That is the thing. It cannot be compared to anywhere else because it just doesn't seem to work for anyone. The people that are there are not open to really talking to other people, and then the people that you manage to speak with are all foreigners that are on the way out. To me, when I was in Iceland, I was just thinking, dating is something that I will think about when I leave Iceland. It's just, to me, it was like something that's not going to happen there. It's because it can never happen in a natural way, and because it's so difficult. What happens is that there is this, what a friend of mine who also was a foreigner living in Iceland, who then left, and I would call the Iceland effect. The chances of meeting someone are so slim, and dating and all of this are so slim, but that when it happens, there is an enormous pressure to make it work. Or if you've just had coffee with someone twice or three times and it goes sort of, it goes all right, then they really hold on to that. It's like, oh, this is going to be a relationship. And maybe that's not the case. There's a little bit of, it's a harsh word, but I would call it desperation.
Did you find the same dating foreigners in Iceland?
No, I mean, foreigners are different because we are used to a different kind of dating and a different kind of scene. And I know, of course, all foreigners will complain about how the gay scene is awful in every country. And I can see why people would say that, but you can be out of that. You don't. There's a lot of things you can do to meet other gay men in other countries. You can join a sports team. You can, I don't know, get invited to more things also because people take you in their circles.
Can you describe some of the positive experiences you had dating in Iceland?
Oh my God, I don't. I don't want to make it sound like Icelanders are. It's not. It's just a very different culture. I'm not trying to say that that they're awful people or that there's anything malicious in their behavior. I still believe that there's nothing malicious in their behavior. They really don't mean to do things this way. But at the same time, I have become a very practical person, and I think dating in Iceland is overly complicated, and I just don't have time for that. I'm too practical. It's too much work. To me, it's a no. So that's why I couldn't say a positive experience. I can say, sure, there's a lot of like lovely people in Iceland, but dating is not really something I am really invested in because it was too much work, and I knew I was going to leave anyway.
Do you think, with the influx of immigrants and tourism, that the dating culture in Iceland will change in, say, the next 10 to 15 years?
Oh, yes, I would say so. It's for sure going to change because there's a lot more foreigners coming in. But at the same time, if it's all based on tourism, it's still going to create a bit of a different world. Like when I just moved here, and I don't mean, of course, Iceland, when I moved to the Netherlands and I was on the apps, and I was talking to guys, and out of 10 guys, they're all doing vastly different things. Everyone has a story, and everyone is doing a certain type of job. It's all very different. If in Iceland, the influx of immigration is going to be dependent on tourism, it's just going to be its own little thing. It's just going to be a lot of people that work in hotels, and that's all that you're going to have. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it would be as bad if it was just a country that they're all doctors or they're all engineers or they're all, you know what I mean? It's just when everyone is doing the same, even if they're foreigners and even if they come from different countries, the experience is not going to be as real and diverse as it is in the real world.
And by real world, you mean a larger country.
No, but I know it sounds okay. I know it sounds terribly mean. I don't mean it in a bad way. Like I said, it's not malicious. It's just a product of. It's a small and isolated country, and we cannot expect that a lot of things that happen naturally in other countries are going to happen there. It's just not possible. It's not so much that they're doing anything wrong. It's just that having such a small population that's so isolated from everything else will create these situations. It's nobody's fault. It's just how it is.
It's been said that Icelandic people have a look. So what is gay dating here like if you obviously do not look Icelandic? Christophe, a French native, has experienced this firsthand. Have you ever experienced racism when dating in Iceland?
Open racism in Iceland, as I've never been insulted or something like that. But I mean, it's a whole thing about passive racism or stereotypical ideas people have. I mean, about all the cliches and all. Because I come from another country and I look tan, and I mean, for me it's racism. For most of the people, it's not racism. I mean, just have fixed ideas, and people from based on how they look. For me, I don't look black, but for people, I obviously look black, and there's always this I mean, I would say fetishism, but I don't know if it's really fetishism about people are just essentializing you on basic physical traits that are supposed to belong to people who happens to be black. And I mean, I got a lot of text on Grindr saying they would try some black dick, or I must have beautiful jeans and all, and I think it's kind of offensive for someone, when someone is telling you that, oh, you're interesting, but only based on the fact that they're assuming that you have a big dick, or I don't know.
Would you say that that has in some part been based on the fact that they haven't really met someone who looks like you before in their community?
I think, yeah, definitely, because basically when I arrived here, I was fresh meat, definitely fresh meat, and so it was new and all. So, except I mean, tourists, a guy who's living there and who's not white, it's uncanny. It's not something they must encounter every day. So, yeah, definitely. I was new, and it was new fresh meat, and it was all tan, and also a lot of guys at Kiki, they were just coming and just asking that, hey, where are you from, what, you live here? I wouldn't say they weren't they didn't mean any harm, but they were just very intrigued.
So in a way, you feel it was kind of sexual racism, but they didn't realize they were being sexually racist.
Yeah, definitely. It's something I never got in Paris, because we're so, there is a melting pot in Paris that is not here, and so yeah, for them definitely it was more oh, exotism. Oh, it's exotic. But no, I don't feel exotic at all. I mean,
So in your native home of France, you never encountered that before?
Oh, it happens. It happened already. Maybe not in Paris, but like in the countryside, like people are less. How should I say? Like they are. They got a certain thing for people that looks who looks exotic.
What has been the most embarrassing thing that has happened to you on a date here in Iceland?
I don't have anything like most embarrassing to say, but I got something that is actually recurrent in every date I had. It was like the first question was, "Hey, so what's your name?" And the second question was always, "Oh, so what's your background? Where do you come from?" And for me, like the simple question, the simple answer is just, "Well, I'm from France." And they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm from France. I grew up in France. My parents are French." And like they're always like so doubtful about that, as if like because I'm French, I need to. I don't look French. Well, and it's kind of. I mean, it's always awkward like to explain. Well, yes, I am French. I may not look white, but my mom is white. My father is less white, but he's still mixed, and his parents are one is from Africa, but one is also French and white. So, I mean, each time they're asking this question, like I mean, it's I guess it's a question of politeness. I don't think that's very polite. I mean, like they're just assuming things, and I mean, it's weird.
What's been the most fun thing about dating in Iceland?
Well, it's not really funny, but like everybody know each other, so you basically end up to sleep with the ex of the guy you slept with the week before. So, but I think it's fun.
Do you have any good advice for somebody who's new to the gay dating scene in Iceland?
Don't go for Icelanders
Why is that?
because they're well, unless you want just wrath and mindless sex, which is okay with them, but they're definitely, no offense, but kinda emotional retards.
And how is dating in Iceland different from dating in your home country?
We're like everybody else. Like you can just go to a bar and end up in the bed of someone and never talk with them again after that. But I mean, when you meet someone and the person seems interesting, you try to know them better, and you go on a date, you go to restaurants and all. But like the first time I went, like I tried to go on a real actual date with an Icelander, and he was just so not comfortable with me, and he was like, okay, it's the first time I'm going on a real date, like eating and having a drink, and it's not usual for me. And I was like, but why? I mean, it's normal, like trying to get to know each other. I mean, it's just natural. I mean, as I said, they're not ready to open them. I don't know if it's about the fact I was a foreigner or if it was about just them being completely not available emotionally, but it's always ending at a point, like it's just like, oh yeah, so I'm getting tired of you, so I'm gonna ghost you, or it's too much, so I think we should stop there. And even after they say that, they still want to have sex with you, so yeah.
Gay men are often referred to as early adopters. Chances are, if a technology is developed, gay men will pick it up often long before their heterosexual counterparts. On September 12, 2012, Tinder was launched, which undoubtedly revolutionized dating throughout the world, but years before then, an app was created that specifically targeted gay men. On March 25, 2009, Grindr was launched. an app designed specifically for gay and bisexual men. The app uses a mobile device's geolocation abilities to find other users who are nearby. Grindr was the first gay geo-social app to launch in the iTunes Store and has since become the largest and most popular gay mobile app in the world, available in over 192 countries. This undoubtedly changed the dating game for gay men in Iceland, but what was it like before? Ayo is an Iceland native who has seen the dating scene both before and after Grindr. How do you think gay dating has changed in Iceland in the past sort of 10 to 20 years?
I think it's become a lot less personal because it's moved from one-on-one contact in bars and in places like Samtökin 78 and or into like onto the internet. So yeah, it's less personal. I don't think it's a good thing, but I might be old-fashioned when it comes to that. It might be that, or I don't know. I just think that it has, in a way, destroyed a sense of community, a community among the gays and lesbians, and just basically the LGBT community.
Do you think the introduction of online dating culture has robbed the younger generation of the ability to be more personal?
Yes, I think so. Because I think that a lot of people, even though it's easier to hook up now, like via apps like Grindr or whatever, I think that a lot of people feel more isolated, even still.
How do people cope with the incestuous nature of dating in this country?
I just say, people just stick their heads in the sand and just like get on with it. I mean, if you get stuck in thinking about it too much, then you end up doing nothing. I think so.
Do you think that kind of makes Icelanders, when it comes to dating, a little less jealous, less emotionally scarred when it comes to dealing with their ex with somebody else?
In a way, yes, because you're bound to run into your ex again because of the size of the country and the amount of clubs here. I mean, there are one, maybe two clubs at a time here, so you're bound to run into your ex with someone else. So you get used to the idea quicker.
How do you think the tourism boom has changed gay dating in Iceland?
It has definitely increased access to more bodies. I think that the selection for sex is bigger, basically for everyone. But that's not to say that people are finding it any easier to get into long-term relationships or anything like that. But there's more of a smorgasbord.
Do you think the dating apps have made it less likely for people to be in long-term relationships?
Good question. I think it might, actually, because like if you can always just like get onto your phone and find the next cock or whatever, then I think a lot of people, and I know that a lot of my friends are less likely to actually like stick with one thing, and just like they're always like on the lookout for something better, something bigger, something more.
Is there some things that you miss about the sort of old times in Iceland?
I think that it's probably that sense of community, like within the gay community, because like before, even though the community was smaller, it was like sort of more clearly defined, like gays, bi people, lesbians, trans people. Now there are like so many more labels, and it has sort of divided the community like up so much that it seems to like be active in like so many corners that it doesn't feel like one whole anymore. It's a bit dispersed.
If you think back to before the introduction of this online culture, would you say that there was more of a cohesion between younger and old groups of gay men?
Definitely. Because sort of clubbing life or gay life, the gay community, it sort of existed more within the realms of like one club or one like Samtykin.
Yeah.
One place, so that people were bound to like mix in between generations, whereas now people are more likely to like go to this club if you're like at a certain age, and older guys and girls they want to like go somewhere else. It's more dispersed.
Do you think currently in Iceland there's more ageism within the gay community than there was before?
I'm not sure. There's like always been some ageism.
Let me put it this way: you're without being offensive, you're of a different generation to the 20-year-olds who are going out now. Do you feel that there is a strength of connection between you, that you would go talk to them, you would hang out with them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel that I would like hang out with them even less than before, and I'm not sure. I mean, I think there's always some amount of ageism, and I'm not necessarily sure it has changed. There has always been like quite a big divide between like generations. There's always been a generation gap, and yeah, no, I don't necessarily think it's changed. I think that like this, like all the freedoms that like gay people and like the whole LGBT community has now, compared to before, has like dispersed the community quite a lot. Even it's probably like it's the same thing that I said before. It's just like it's divided it quite a lot, and it sort of lacks a sense of community that it had before. And it's because of a positive thing, but in the end it might become a negative.
Even with a small population, it's clear that there are varied experiences in regards to gay dating in Iceland. There are positive and negative ones, but it doesn't seem to be that any of these pros or cons are regionally exclusive, or even exclusive to sexual orientation. Anyone who has seen current TV and movies can agree that the sentiments expressed by the interview subjects in this podcast would still have had the same meaning if they were coming from a heterosexual man or woman. I will be 32 this year, and in my own lifetime, the gay community has made more progress in regards to their own rights than most other demographics. However, for us living in countries who now have full equality, it would seem that we are coming to terms with the fact that when you have freedom, you have choice. And when you have choice, things will get a whole lot more complicated.